This is a gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Wilder, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. I would tell you I disagree on the Odessa statement. I do think Putin wants Odessa. I think it gives him control of the economy of Ukraine, and that port is extremely important to him, and I think that he would like to charge a tax on everything leaving that port and give it to one of his oligarchs or keep a portion of it for himself. But my question gets to your statement about Russia's strategic failure being the Biden administration's goal. Certainly that's my goal. I want Russia to fail. I want Putin to fail. I want Ukraine to win. And you also talk about Russia's limited economy. But most numbers show that Russia's economy grew at a rate of 3.6% for 2023. Is that your understanding?
Yes, and its inflation rate is 13%.
Okay. So it's 13%?
Inflation rate is 13%.
Okay. But their economy is growing. And the Biden administration has looked the other way, while India, whose economy is also growing at a pace that's actually about 7%, has bought billions of dollars worth of oil from Russia in violation of the sanctions. Is it correct? I want to ask you about the opinion on the Biden administration. I will ask you, though, is it correct that India has purchased billions of dollars worth of oil in violation of the sanctions from Russia?
India has purchased oil from Russia, yes.
In violation of the sanctions?
That would be a technical issue on whether they are paying more than the price cap, and I'm afraid I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay, fair enough. As I said, I respect you. I'm not trying to play gotcha here, but my concern is that there are things the Biden administration could do that would hurt Russia's economy, and they have not done it. I'm also concerned with the fact that Russia, when the Ukrainians hit Russia's oil and gas infrastructure, the Biden administration came out and condemned the Ukrainians for hitting Russia's oil and gas infrastructure and suggested that they should not do that again. Can you tell me why, while Russia is attacking Ukrainians' oil and gas and energy sector, why shouldn't the Ukrainians attack the Russian oil and gas and energy sector?
The issue on attacking critical infrastructure is when those are civilian targets, we have concerns because Ukraine holds itself to the highest standards of observing the laws of armed conflict, and that's one of the elements of being a European democracy.
But the Russians are attacking the oil and gas infrastructure in Ukraine, correct?
Absolutely.
And if you're going to win a war, you can't sit back and take punches and not deliver punches. So why shouldn't the Ukrainians attack the oil and gas infrastructure in Russia?
Congressman, we have concerns about striking at civilian targets when we support countries. Again, this is Ukraine's sovereign decision, but we express those concerns.
But those oil and gas infrastructures in Russia are owned by the Kremlin, correct? It's not like they're owned by a private corporation that have shareholders and private assets are being destroyed.
They are owned by private Russian citizens who are part of the Putin regime. That is correct.
I mean, it makes sense to me that we should destroy them. General Cavoli, you talked a lot about our NATO partners and their ascension to the 2%. Russia is currently spending, as I understand it, 6% of their GDP on their military. My question is the 2% enough? If your enemy is spending 6%, if your greatest threat is coming from a country that is spending 6% of GDP, should that 2% threshold, should we work to raise that 2% threshold for the NATO partnerships?
Thanks, Congressman. So first of all, there is a lively discussion among the nations in NATO right now about whether 2% is even any longer the relevant figure. Should it be higher? As you know, a number of our allies are spending significantly above 2%. I'd call attention to Poland here especially, which is closing in on 4% of GDP. I personally believe in the absence of any North Atlantic Council decision or agreement. I do think we're going to find that 2% is too low a figure. We have plans that have driven force structure requirements that nations are now going to be asked to build towards. So there's a blueprint, there's a shopping list for that 2%, and I think we're going to find that 2% goes pretty quickly, Congressman.
Gentleman's time's expired.